Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another indie book review. And this is one of my favorite kinds to do, and that is a book that I really love and can just gush about for like 10 to 15 minutes. Not that I don't love doing every one of these indie reviews, but there's just something so nice about just being, guys, read this. Guys, you should read this for 15 minutes. And the book for today is Dead Remnants by Amarna Forbes. This is a YA paranormal fantasy? Paranormal, regardless, about a girl at 17 who is killed. And that's not a spoiler, it's literally the entire point. And it's about following her through the afterlife. Now, the descriptions of the afterlife were really cool. It was a lot different than a lot of these, oh, you live on as a ghost thing. The way it's described was very intriguing. If you look at the bright Technicolor cover, that's actually kind of what it's supposed to be, with like living people having this kind of like sheen over them and being like multicolored, and like the dead very obviously seeing the living different than they see themselves. And Ashen, our protagonist, has one goal in mind, is that is to save her best friend Jacob, who she got separated with after the... Well, I don't want to tell you how they die, but they're both in the same place when it happens. And her big thing is she wants to save him from himself because he might not be taken in the afterlife as well as she is. But she meets up with this group of people called the Wardens, who basically are keeping like peace in the afterlife. While most souls will go on to the other side, they stick around for the souls that stayed, and basically what they're trying to do is keep peace between the light and the dark. Now, contrary to most symbolism here, it's not like light equals good guys, black equals bad guys. It's more like light equals bad guys that think they're the good guys, almost, in some cases, and like bad guys who don't care that they're the bad guys. Like, it's kind of that weird thing of like, in their eyes there's this big dichotomy, but the Wardens are like, all y'all are crazy. And the group of the Wardens that Ashen meets are fantastic. If you have been around my channel for any length of time, you know that I am a sucker for a found family, and this one has it. And probably the best member of that found family is Cage. He is this older 50-something cowboy, only he hates it when you call him a cowboy because he used to be a sheriff in the Wild West, and cowboy apparently has like all of these negative connotations, and he's that perfect kind of like gruff and sullen yet lovable and protective older mentor figure that I love in a book. There's Max, the World War II veteran. Well, not really a veteran. He didn't survive the war because he's a ghost now. There's Angry Fox, who is a Native American, and Vana, whose full Native American name I am not going to pronounce well. There is a black man who died of a hate crime named John. So there's a lot of different periods. I would have liked a little bit more outside the realm of the 19th century. It seemed like there was a lot of people from the 19th century specifically. I wanted to see someone from a colonial era of America, but I also loved that they had a very big job and they had very big consequences for failing in that job. Basically, you can also die as a ghost, but in that instance, it is perma. Your consciousness isn't a thing, doesn't exist, and they have to protect what is basically the barrier between this world and the next for the souls that are going across. And once you've decided to stay, you can't go. Like, there's kind of like a time limit. And once you've stayed too long, you're here. So Ashen's kind of got this ticking clock over her head. If she wants to find Jacob and make it work and go through, she has a limited time to do it. And when she decides to stay, she can't go through it at all ever again. And I love big consequences. I love strict time limits. It really ups the tension, and it was all here. Now, I will say, and I saw someone actually in another review on, I think, was it Goodreads, wanted to doc for this, and I realized that, yes, this book needs trigger warnings. It's kind of a given, though, if you think about it, because they go through the backstories of each of the characters in this found family aspect. You get to see their last either couple days, weeks, or very last day, depending. And so when you're reading these, you know this is not going to pan out. Like, you read these scenes and you're like, they're going to die at the end of this. However, in some cases, that death is very intense. There is a torture scene. Like I mentioned, John dies of a hate crime, and it is horrific. It is a horrific hate crime. You have the depictions of entire Native American villages being slaughtered in some cases. So this is definitely a book where you have to go in knowing what it is. And I loved that because in a lot of cases in this, I think someone in another review nicknamed it After Lifestyle books, and I loved that. I don't know if that's a regular term or not, but I kind of want to use it now. They tend to like downplay the fact that you're dead, you died, and this one does, and they're like, no, it's pretty traumatic, the thing that happened to make you die. And some of them are dying like 16 or 20, so like traumatic things, horribly violent traumatic things. And it also delves into some of the not good parts about America. Native American villages being slaughtered, hate crimes, outlaws in the Wild West. Like, it is definitely one of those, you have to understand the country's past and at least have made your peace with it and move forward, which is kind of sad. But I love those aspects. I have a history degree, I have a museum studies degree, so like history stuff is always going to be a big fan of mine. Armarna did tell me when she emailed me about this that yes, she did do the research. She did make sure that, you know, she had all the names and dates and that kind of stuff put together. So there was research. I mean, not to the full extent of like, you know, Chicago style footnotes, but I'll let her pass on that one. But the big thing for me and what sold it from being a standard YA paranormal story, I guess, was the ending. And obviously, I can't spoil it. So to be as vague as I can get, the ending went places that not many authors, especially those writing YA, are really prepared to go or really want to go. I'm trying to say this without totally spoiling it, but I'll tell you this much. When I finished the book, I figured Armarna and I had like talked for like a hot minute, so I figured she'd be okay with me messaging her this on Twitter. I messaged her and I said, just finished your book. You are a sadistic, heart-wrenching bitch. Good job. And she then screenshotted that and posted it to Twitter, basically very proud of the fact that she was a sadistic, heart-wrenching bitch. So, you need to be prepared when you go to the end of this book. And I'm very caught between, do I want a sequel? Because I don't know if this is a series. I haven't seen anything on like the Goodreads page or anything that says like the first in the blank series, but that doesn't mean we won't get a sequel. Because I kind of low-key want some things to be undone from the end of this book but also with such a bold ending and with such an ending that's so rarely done in YA. So like, it's also really good on its own, and I might just be wanting that sequel for my own heartache. I'm very caught. So be on the lookout for that. But in general, this was such an awesome read. It was one of those ones where I always time myself when I'm reading a review book because I want to make sure that I'm stopping at regular intervals to write down notes. So like every 15 or 20 or 30 minutes, depending on where I am in the book. And this is one of those books where the timer would go off, but I didn't want to stop reading. like no, I just got to finish the chapter. I just got to finish this. Except for admittedly, the torture scene, I literally kept reading just like, I just got to get this done. I can't go back to this. It was genuinely deeply uncomfortable. which it was meant to be. So good job. Like a lot of the parts where it's like you feel heartbroken and sad and uncomfortable, that is literally all the emotions she's trying to evoke. So you can't falter for that. But in general, I just loved it. Ashen wasn't quite as vulnerable as I usually like my NDYA protagonists to be. But her best friend Jacob was an adorable soft boy, which I do love. And she wasn't all powerful. She still needed, Cage and John and the others and Vanna to kind of be like, okay, come back. Like, let us help you. And she did. So she wasn't the stereotypical, I'm 17, therefore I can do all of this on my own. What are you talking about? Well, I mean, most 17-year-olds will think that, but, like, it didn't actually, like, follow through with that. Like, the plot didn't say she can do this on her own. The plot said, I know you're 17, ask for help. But in general, I loved this book, gave it 5 stars. Once again, it will make you deeply uncomfortable if you do not like things like death and gore and torture scenes and racism from America's past played out in very tragic detail. You might want to avoid this book, but if you like that kind of meatier things wrapped up in what was just a fun YA paranormal story outside of the uncomfortable stuff with a lot of heart and an adorable found family that I loved, Cage is just, I need a Cage. I need myself a Cage. Regardless, you will love this book. And I would love to keep going, but gotta keep it semi to myself. I'll probably end up gushing about this in another one. So if you are an indie author and you would like a review, please email me. I will have my email down in the description below, along with my review policy. Please give that a read through. It saves us a lot of time because it answers a lot of questions. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.